This is Backstage Sonoma, your all-access pass to the local music scene.
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Santa Rosa, this is the Backstage Sonoma podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
From Backstage Sonoma, I'm Steve Roby. San Francisco Bay Area's The Smooth Jazz Alley comprises keyboardist producer Marco Montoya, drummer and producer Kevin Lewis, and saxophone artist Otoe Mori. They're known for their seamless blend of jazz, R&B, soul, and funk, with a sound that resonates with fans and newcomers alike. Members Marco Montoya and Kevin Lewis will join me today to talk about how the trio's individual influences come together and their upcoming show at the Blue Note in Napa. Our interview is next, right after Let's Ride, the title track from their 2020 album, It's the Smooth Jazz Alley, here on Backstage Sonoma. The song is Let's Ride. Marco Montoya, Kevin Lewis, and Otoe Mori, I hope I got your name right, are joining me tonight. I'm Steve Roby, and this is Backstage Sonoma. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's ours. Thanks for having us, Steve.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you so much.
Great. So I'm curious about the diverse musical backgrounds within the band. How do your individual influences come together in the smooth jazz alley, and how do they shape the music you create?
I'll go ahead and start on that, and then Kevin and Otoe can chime in. I have an extensive background in R&B, grew up with R&B, listened to a lot of pop, and some smooth jazz at a pretty young age. So I have a lot of different influences as far as when I'm creating music. I also have a Latin music background, played Latin music for 30 years, still playing Latin music. When I create an idea, it's a kind of a mixture of different feels, just depending on how I'm feeling. And Kevin, I'll let you kind of take over. Kevin, now we kind of work together. I'll start something and then he'll chime in. I'll send the track over to him, and Kev, he starts with all his ideas. Go ahead.
I throw my ideas in and I might modify something, and it's just the way that I'm feeling. By the time that process is over, then I'll hand it back. For instance, we just completed a workshop, if you will, on a track just like that. Not completed, but we started one. And last night was one of those examples where I'd taken a track from Marco and then I put my spin on what his idea was. And then we brought it all together and then took it back to what we call the lab, which is the mainframe. And we started tweaking and working, and then that's pretty much how things formulate. And then we bring our little sister in, Otoe.
Yeah.
Otoe, you come in from there. You take it.
My brothers, they have ton of ideas. It's amazing. Yeah, when I go to the recording, to the lab, and then, brother suggested me, how about that? How about that? How about that? And then Kevin suddenly started singing. And then, we got some ideas from his singing, and then Marco's suggesting. We all have my time together.
How did the three of you come together, and what brought you together?
A former partner of mine, Stan Evans. And when he left, I was kind of in limbo. Didn't really know anybody in this genre at all. And I connected with a guitarist out of the Bay Area, Joel Del Rosario, about finishing the album that Stan and I had started for the second album. During that conversation, he was like, hey, we should try to do some shows together. And ended up doing that. And that's how I met Kevin. Kevin was the drummer at rehearsal when we were preparing to practice for a show. So that's how I met Kevin. And I believe Otoe was there. Kev, was that right? Otoe, were you there that first day?
I don't think Otoe was there.
Eventually she was.
Eventually.
But that's how Kevin and I met. And then we kind of I started sharing ideas about the project, what had happened, where I was at. And Kevin came in and helped take a new direction by suggesting having special guest artists on our music. And these were very well-established artists that have been around for many years, which that took everything to a whole new level because I never expected any of that.
Cool. Otoe, what's your background?
I was born in Japan, Nagano in Japan. And then I started piano when I was 7. And then my dad, he was a saxophone player. So I learned from him. And then I went to the music college in Japan. And then I came here in 2003 with my husband. And then I started teaching and gigging here. I already started gigging, touring in Japan when I was in Japan.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I restarted here in USA.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing all that info about how the band got started. We opened up the show with Let's Ride, which has over 1 million streams on Spotify. Congratulations. Could you tell us what inspired this track?
We have a kind of a silent smooth jazz Arian, if you will. His name is Matt Godina, and Matt helps assist us with a lot of our music. And so he came up with this idea for this particular track. He came up with this idea, and you do hear Matt on some of the things. And once he gave us the idea, we just kind of took it over in the same process. There's a chemistry or this recipe, if you will, that works between Marco and I. So we got this idea. He worked it, I worked it. We put it in the lab, and here we go. We took it down to record. chord drums in the greater Los Angeles area. And before you know it, we enlisted a couple of musicians on it before even leaving the Los Angeles area. But that's how the track came about. And in our conversations, Steve, we're always saying, well, here's the thing. And it just kind of stuck with us. At first, we weren't sure. Marco and I were kicking it around just a little bit. We weren't sure. And then we started playing it. Marco started playing it on keys, and then we started coming up with ideas. And it truly, Steve, it was a collaboration. It's something that you can actually do the electric slide to. It's been a staple for us.
All right.
A big staple.
I was going to ask you about your latest EP, Here's the Thing, and it's been making huge waves. What was the creative process behind the EP, and what themes or ideas were you exploring with this project?
We wanted a really big sound, like a big sound, a bigger sound than Let's Ride. And we tried to get, I don't know if we achieved it, but we sure had fun trying. So we added some horns. If I'm not mistaken, there may be some vocals on this track by Mike Parlett. We also added some flute. We just wanted this big giant sound. But the biggest thing, Steve, is we wanted a guitarist who could own it. I kind of pride myself on putting those things together. Actually, Marco and I pride ourselves on putting those things together. Like, we would have artists that would never meet otherwise. You would never see them with another artist. And so we'll put two and two on, except for this one. We brought our little sister on board as recently, and we really wanted her to star and be with this guitarist. And it just all worked out. Lo and behold, we put Chris Kamasi on this track, and he gave us a sample, and right away, we knew that was it. Cool. We went with it, and usually, this will make you laugh, Steve. I have 3 things, and Marco teases me about it. I'd say, give me wild, crazy, and through the roof. I would have something to choose from. And he gave us all of it. And it's like Christmas to us. Like, we don't know how to throw anything out. So Marco is a master at mixing and developing things and putting things together to where it all flows. And that is his expertise that you're actually listening to. And then again, I track my drums in the greater Los Angeles area. We go down there, we track. And that was the basis for this big sound that we were trying to put together. Every time we put something together, Steve, we try to make it bigger and better than the last outing, if you will.
It's the Smooth Jazz Alley here on Backstage Sonoma. Here's the Thing is the title track from the Smooth Jazz Alley's latest release, and I have all three members of the group here tonight joining me on Backstage Sonoma. How would you say Here's the Thing differs from your previous releases?
Each album, and of course this wasn't planned, was a transition album. So started out as a duo with the former guitarist, and then the second album is Kevin came on board and just added this whole new realm to the Smooth Jazz Alley with guest artists and producer. In between the second album and the latest EP is when Otoe officially joined us. So we had already started working on the EP, so she's on half the tracks, but we had already had some tracks that were in the works. So each album's been kind of a transition. And that's what you're going to notice some differences between, like Kevin explained, in between each album. But for Here's the Thing is more like, let's see where we can go with Otoe as part of the Smooth Jazz Alley. And the first track that she was on the radio with was Deep Into You. And we wanted to have a coming out track for her. So that track was developed with that intention. And we at the time were like, well, who can we get on this track? And I kind of told these guys, hey, look, guitarist Blake Aaron this guy's been on Billboard like release after release. And Kevin's like, let's call him. So we called him up, agreed to be on there. We had to get okay from his label. And man, it was really exciting to see Otoe on a track with somebody who's been around for years, very well known, just kind of like in the upper echelon of smooth jazz. That's a very special track for all of us, but most importantly for Otoe, because it's the first track she went to radio with. So this EP, and Kevin mentioned we put a couple of artists together you wouldn't see on Brisa Del Mar. It's kind of a Latin-soaked jazz track. We've got saxophonist Jesse J and guitarist Mark Antoine. They've never worked with each other. You would never think that you'd see them on a track like that. I'm on that track. That's a track I wrote. We've got Wakana from Japan. She's a saxophonist from Japan. And Otoe on the track Party. And that's a track that was produced by Matt Godina. And so it's just anything goes at this point. It's like, okay, what do we do next? Who are we going to get on here next? How are we going to do it? It's like sky is the limit. So it's been a really fun time, especially on this EP, putting everything together and just getting it to where it is now. We're having a really good time working on some new stuff too.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Otoe, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, when you listen to our album, especially this one, we have a lot of many artists. You can hear like many colors from the sound. It's very interesting. Many saxophone players, many guitar players, bass players, but everybody is different. A lot of colors. We listen to all of the songs in the album.
Let's play your new single now. It's called Brisa Del Mar. Can you tell us the backstory behind this track and how it fits into the overall vibe of the EP?
This is a track that I wrote. Now, on my very first album, I had a Latin track. It's a song that I had written a tribute to my daughter when she was born. And it was a Latin track. And we didn't do that on the last album. And I told Kevin, I was like, man, I want to do like a follow-up to that song. And I said, I have this kind of a tropical feel, but still have that smooth jazz twist in it. And I developed the track. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of Cuban music. So the chord progression was what I've heard in a lot of Cuban songs that I actually love. And I just kind of threw this together, and Kevin was like, oh man, yeah, we're going to take this to the next level. And again, we started thinking about who can we get on there. So I mentioned Jessie J. That was a lot of fun getting Jessie J involved. She heard the track, and when she said she has to listen to a track before she agrees to work on it. And when Kevin said she loved the track, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Then Kevin got Mark Antoine. He's been around for many years, a very highly established guitarist, and he got on the track. And I was just like in heaven. And then we were like, well, who can we get to do Latin percussion? And Kevin and I had just gotten back from the NAMM show in Anaheim. And we had met Pancho Sanchez. And he's like, want to get Pancho Sanchez? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. You want to reach out to him? And I said, well, I actually know Carl Perazzo, also of Santana.
Wow.
I've played with him many times with different salsa bands. He's been at my house to record before many times. And he's like, you think he'll do it? And I said, yeah, give me a call. I called him up. He's like, I'd love to be involved. So he came over. He did like, I don't know, about 14, 15 tracks of Latin percussion. Now it's all blended in. But if I isolate all that stuff, this guy does some really insane stuff. He's a monster. And Kevin was like, I can't believe I'm going to be playing on a track. with Carl Perazzo. So he knew who he was.
Yeah.
We went down to LA and recorded the drums, and the rest was history. We weren't sure about if we were going to release this track to radio, but we ended up doing it and got a very good response. So yeah, that's how this came together.
Well, let's take a listen to Brisa Del Mar. It's the Smooth Jazz Alley. You're on Backstage Sonoma. You're listening to Backstage Sonoma. The song is Brisa Del Mar by the Smooth Jazz Alley. It's from their EP, Here's the Thing, which is available now. Before we finish up, everyone, what future projects are you excited about next? Are there new directions or collaborations you're exploring?
we're thinking of something new. So we have a track called Here We Go that we're currently working on. We just came out of the studio last night with it. My little brother convinced me to sing on it. So we're putting my vocals together. So now I'm on this track with vocals. and my sister has to come in. Otoe has to come in, put her magic in. We have other tracks. We have one with Brian Bromberg, who we have on bass, with Chris Kamazi as a tribute to George Benson.
Nice.
We have that going on, and we still have yet to configure all of that. We have a track called The River Doesn't Lie. Well, we call it River Don't Lie. And that was written by Carmen Grillo, and the lyrics. And recently we had Impromptu come in and do the trumpet work and do some vocals and whatnot. And then Chris Kamazi's playing the backing guitar on that. And we still have to configure ourselves in and get Otoe situated on that track. We're having a ball, Steve. Trust me, we have some really cool things coming up. And Steve, when I tell you it's beautiful, I can't wait for you to hear it. It's coming.
Do you think all this new material is coming out?
So we're probably going to release about 4 singles or maybe one more and then drop the album. So we're excited.
So that's all coming in early spring of 2025.
Yes.
So you have a upcoming show at Blue Note in Napa, which is really exciting to look forward to. It happens on October 24th. What can your fans look forward to from this live performance? Are there any special preparations or surprises in store for us?
Do have one surprise, but I can't let it out the bag just yet. And he will be on stage with Otoe aside, but it's going to be a surprise. Steve, you just have to come. You just have to show up.
No clues.
You can look forward to some really good energy, some really good vibes. We have Joe Del Gazzare on guitar, sharing some of the lead chores, if you will, with Otoe. But we have a guest coming, and he's going to knock your socks off. And together, Otoe and that guest they're going to kill it. We're just going to have a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of love on that stage.
Sounds good. No hints, no clues, what instrument this person plays.
I don't know. Marco, can we give him a hint? I don't know, man.
It's a guest saxophonist.
Okay, that's good.
He's been around for a while, very established. So he's a great performer. We're really excited.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to come out to see who it is. But we're gonna be playing a lot of some stuff from the old down, stuff from the current EP, and a few goodies that we threw in there. So we're excited about the show.
Sounds good. And let me remind our listeners, the Smooth Jazz Alley will perform at the Blue Note in Napa on Thursday, October 24th. Doors open at 6 p.m. and showtime is 8, so I guess you have time to have a few drinks and some dinner before the music starts. You can pick up tickets online right now at bluenotejazz.com/Napa, and be sure to visit their website, the Smooth Jazz Alley's website. For all the latest news, go to smoothjazzalley.com. Everybody in the group, thank you so much for being here. I had a great time. I hope you did too. Have a great show in Napa. And please come back and see us again real soon, okay?
Thanks a lot, Steve, for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much.
It's the Smooth Jazz Alley and a song called Deep Into You. It's from their EP, Here's the Thing, which is available now. We're back in a minute with more Backstage Sonoma.
Hey musicians, would you like to be a guest and promote your upcoming concert and latest release? It's easy. Just email the host at backstagesonoma@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Thanks for listening to the Backstage Sonoma podcast. Join us next time for more great interviews and music from local and touring musicians. You can find us on the web at backstagesonoma.com.